Join me in Vietnam for inspiring stories and a mission to save our planet.
Jason Cavness. I'm also CEO founder of Cavness HR. At Cavness HR, we deliver HR to companies with 49 or fewer people. And I'd like to welcome you to the Jason Cavness Experience Ho Chi Minh City edition. For the next 2 months, we're doing our podcast live from Ho Chi Minh City. And we want to thank Earth VC for powering this podcast. Earth VC is on a mission to unfuck the Earth. They're doing this by supporting breakthrough scientific research, empowering outlier founders to build enduring climate businesses, and investing in high-growth startups that decarbonize the world. Earth VC empowers founders who are ambitious, breakthrough, and are committed. Earth VC is investing in the pre-seed to Series A round. If you think you might be a match, reach out to them at Rebuild at Earth VC. So Cedric, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
So Cedric, I'm gonna start with something personal.
Sure.
You're adopted, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell that adoption story? Like, did you find out when you were like a little kid you were adopted, or like going on life? How did that work?
Sure. I mean, it's nothing overly sensitive, so no worries. Happy to share. I mean, I was adopted basically right after I was born, at least to my knowledge, since I was a baby. But yeah, basically my parents had an affinity for Vietnam. My grandfather was a general surgeon back in his day, and basically would come to Vietnam to do humanitarian trips. And so that's how my family kind of came to Vietnam in the first place. And then, yeah, essentially more than 30 years ago, my parents came, adopted me, and then I think...
And you adopted here in Vietnam?
In Ho Chi Minh City,
okay.
in Vietnam, yeah.
And then they moved you to France?
No, so funny story is I've actually never lived in France. My family has a summer house there, so that's where we go in the summers, but I've actually never lived full-time in France. So right after I was adopted, my parents were actually living in Africa. So we were living in Botswana at the time. So basically went from Vietnam to Africa right after.
Man, it sounds like your parents have an interesting life story too, living all over the world.
Yeah, maybe that's for another podcast. But yeah, absolutely. I think they've been very fortunate. I think I've been very fortunate. I think it's the 8th country I've lived in now. And it's really thanks to them, actually.
Do you have a favorite country you've lived in so far?
You know, I get asked that a lot. And I think the conclusion that I've drawn is that there is no perfect country. I think I like to enjoy the different aspects of different countries for the different qualities that they have. So Vietnam, we enjoy relatively affordable living. I've lived in Thailand as well. I studied in the US. So every country has its own charm and things that it adds and value and so on. So no favorite country, short answer.
Yeah, I think one thing, like I've been in a lot of countries myself. I've yet to be a country where you say like, man, these people suck, right? Every country you go to, the people like this is great.
Correct, absolutely. People are great, or something about the culture is great, or just being in a place with energy, or just, yeah, I think it's very enriching all around. And I think it just makes you realize that there's so many beautiful places and many great people around.
Now, how old were you when you found out you were adopted? Was that like
I don't know the actual age per se, but it was relatively young. I mean, my parents were very upfront about it. They're like, we are not your parents by blood, but we are your mom and dad.
Yeah, we're your parents.
For all intents and purposes, we are your parents. So it's just, and then they explained to me, your parents unfortunately could not take care of you when you were a baby, and so, but we were very fortunate to adopt you, and you are our son.
Now in Vietnam, do they treat you like with a stigma, something like, oh, you don't have real parents, or is adopted treated as like a simple, like a outlier thing, so to speak? Or
it's a good question. Vietnam is the world. So I'm French by nationality, by passport. So whenever I'm in France, people don't really consider me French either. I always get like, oh, you speak really good French. And I'm like, thanks, I guess.
I mean, that is kind of assaulting though, right? I mean, speaking your whole life, I'm presuming so.
Correct. And then, I come to Vietnam or Asia, and then it's funny because whenever I'm in Asia, in Thailand, they'll be like, oh, you kind of look Thai, or you look Filipino or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not. But then, when I tell them I'm adopted from Vietnam, they're like, oh, but, you don't really look Vietnamese either. So it's kind of like in this weird place where I'm in an other in some respects sometimes.
Yeah. And do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have a sister who's also adopted, also from Vietnam.
Okay.
People say we look alike, even though by blood, actually, we are completely unrelated.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the nurture aspect of
Okay.
growing up together.
Yeah, that's great. You had like these two people just come in your life and like, basically like take you on the wing and take care of you. Like,
Right.
that's very good. So this is my second time in Vietnam. I came the first time in September. And this kind of embarrassing because I'm a big history buff. I know about the Vietnam War, the French, but I didn't realize how big influence France had on Vietnam until September. Like the architectural buildings, the food.
Sure.
Can you talk about something like how the French are still influencing Vietnam now?
I mean, sure. I mean, like right now we're in Thao Dien, for example. There's a lot of foreigners here, a lot of French people in this particular area. I mean, I think even if you look at Vietnamese language, there are a lot of French words or French roots from French words in the Vietnamese language that they still use today. Whether it's cafe or other kind of words that have integrated into the Vietnamese language. For example, coffee culture is very big here. I think they got that from the French. Even just sitting on small stools and people watching is a very French thing. Drinking your coffee in the morning. No cigarettes here, but there is the coffee part. So I think there are definitely aspects of French culture that are still ingrained here, but I think the Vietnamese have taken it and really made it their own.